welcome to another edition of the Back of the Class podcast. We are your hosts. I am the Esteban Serrano.
This is Juan.
Zach.
And together we are the Back of the Class. We're going to try some new things this episode. We're talking about rappers quitting because that's been going on these past couple weeks.
Tapping out.
Which is interesting, tapping out. We had a dope interview from with Head from Korn.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
It was awesome. We also want to talk about cartoons because we can. We're adults.
Why not?
We like cartoons.
Damn right.
We want to talk about
Cartoons and cereal.
cartoons. Juan, as always, is playing all types of video games.
Yep.
We're going to talk about Homefront a little bit.
Homefront Revolution.
Homefront Revolution. Yeah, so we're just gonna have have some fun as we always do. If you are a longtime listener and lover of the podcast, please rate and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Also, you can find us on Stitcher Radio if you're on Fuse.tv and wonder where else you could find us. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Fuse.tv.
Yep.
We all over the place. Taking over. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So something that I've noticed. It started off last week with ILoveMakonnen, on Twitter announcing that he is hanging it up.
Yeah.
And
After
then
his long career that he's had.
You would think he had a long career because he dropped like 29 mixtapes, and he had a big record. But Joe Budden, man, yesterday we're recording this podcast on Wednesday. Yesterday, he I don't know if he tweeted or Instagrammed. I think it was Instagram. And he said, enjoy these last few Joe Budden tour dates because they will be the last Joe Budden's tour ever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how much of that do you believe?
I don't know. I believe in the case of Joe Budden, I think that it may be time for him to take a little hiatus. I mean, he's had a crazy life. And the things that he's had to overcome and that, he's still obviously recovering from. But, in terms of a career, we all know that he's Slaughterhouse. And I'm hoping that it was like, this is the last Joe Budden solo by myself tour. And that he's going to continue to Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, he wasn't forththering with more details.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that that's
shows.
what it is. Because I know he gets a lot of joy out of the super group and... and stuff like that.
He's also very emotional, so who knows what happened in his life that he's just like, you know what, maybe it's not worth me doing this anymore. Hopefully, if that's the case,
money though. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
that's how you make money.
Hopefully, that's the case. He gets through it, and best wishes. But I definitely don't want him to go away because I love Joe.
Right. I mean, I think on the money front, I don't know, man. I think he's made some good money. In terms of the Love and Hip Hop money, I'm sure is very lucrative. I heard from what I understand contractually, when you hit like season 3, the money increases a lot. He's also on was it group therapy?
Yeah.
Couples therapy. Couples therapy. So that money I'm sure is good. I also know that he at least owns one house. His crib in Jersey is kind of like notorious. Like party.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as the lucrative,
cool
buying mansions and buying like 8 cars.
Yeah, it seems like he's been smart with his bread. He's been one of the ones that are kind of relevant, has stayed relevant, from the 90s on. And you also hear a lot like, Little Kim, her house is being foreclosed right now, allegedly. Also, Tiger's always never paying his rent. And, there's other artists out there that are just like, just man down, all hands on deck, we broke. But I don't really get that vibe.
You know what it is with Joe, though, too? Like, he's found, like, the biggest hurdle from what I read, people who retire anything, like basketball, any sport, any profession, like, it's like, what do I do to fill the time? And Joe has his podcast and it's doing well.
Yep.
So, maybe that's the thing he's found to pass the time where he could concentrate on doing a podcast and maybe extend that into maybe a video series or something like that because he's a charismatic dude, very knowledgeable of a lot of things. So I think he might have a plan. So
But what's McConan going to do?
Who knows?
He's gonna go up on Tuesday, bruh.
He's just gonna wait for Tuesday every Tuesday.
Basically.
And it was weird because he was saying, I would keep going if I could release music the way I want to and stuff. But it seems like he's been really independent and, like we said, prolific. So I'm wondering what he's wanted to do that he can't pull off.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean today too. Like I can't really imagine after the hit and all the hits he's had.
The hit
he had
singular,
but the run he had, for them to be like, nah, you can't do this weird shit. It's like, why? I just gave you like, a #1 record. I fucking was heard.
Yeah,
everywhere.
I don't know. I wonder what the deeper. You can't. I don't know. But like what you were saying is, I don't. He's concerned about like wanting to release music the way he wants, but like I feel like he's released a lot of music in a very very short window. Yeah. Not only that, like let's be real. Like McKonnen it kind of gets overlooked. He kind of gets laughed at. He's kind of weird. He's kind of dismissible in times, but like he's probably had one of the better careers. Of a lot. I mean, but like better than a lot of rappers who've been doing it a lot longer than him that haven't experienced what he has just off of the strength of Tuesday.
Could this all just be like the standard operating procedure of dudes like who just say shit like this and then here comes another record out of nowhere?
What do you mean, like Jay-Z?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like because this is all it could be is just he's having one issue and it's like that's it, I don't want to do it. Then 2 months later, we hear new music and it's like, weren't you gonna retire? Like, I don't know what you talk about.
Who knows, man? Who knows what to expect from
you guys
McKonnen?
think anybody else is next?
Oh, that's a good question, man.
Next, as in who we see is probably hanging it up or who should hang it up?
Who we think might?
Ooh, I don't know, man.
It's weird how Lil Wayne like turned back on that thing. He was talking about retiring for a long time and on like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff,
right.
Very openly. And
but the problem with Lil Wayne, he can't retire because he can't afford to.
Yeah.
Like he's got so much.
I also feel like
he's
at this
never
point,
been paid justly. He can't really afford to.
It's like a stage now, a stage in like the evolution of artists, where it's like you start, you're hot, you kind of sustain, you start fizzling out a little bit, and then you want to retire, you want to quit, and then either you rise up and keep going, or you're never heard from again.
Right.
So
mostly people come back and reunite.
Right.
It seems like.
I mean, I don't know who. I don't know, man. I don't know who else.
If Designer keeps dropping fucking
oh, here we go.
hits, Future might have to.
What hits? We've talked about Designer so much.
Come on.
If he keeps going, I was trying
keeps
to
going.
He will keep going.
He hasn't.
Well, that's what I mean. But like
one
if,
more thing. Like
if,
he's got one record.
If he keeps generating more,
He will. He'll probably have an album this summer or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Good music side his back. I don't think Designer's gonna retire next.
No. I meant like if he keeps going and keeps making more hits,
Future's gonna
be like
everybody's gonna retire.
All right, well,
Yeah.
well, he's not sounding like everybody. He's sounding like just one guy.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. There's some people that probably should retire.
Good luck,
but
Joe.
won't.
Good luck, Mako.
Yeah, man. Oh man. But anyway, Zach, tell us set us up with this whole.
Head. Yeah.
interview.
Well, I don't know, man. It was cool. It was so.
You
cool.
kept your composure, man. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, but I was like, just watching him do. Head. His name's Brian Welch. He's one of the 2 guitarists of Korn for most of the band's history, and he was really what I loved about the band. Like I would take meeting him over Jonathan Davis like any day of the week, and he wrote a book about raising his daughter, and she struggled with a lot of stuff, and he came in here to Fuse, and he did an interview where you'll see videos, and then we just chopped it up about hip hop for like 10 minutes. We did a back of the class segment.
And yes, he did talk about All in the Family.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here's our interview with Head.
Okay, hey Head, hey Brian.
Hi.
Just always been so interested in how hip hop and metal kind of merged and your guys' part in it. I mean, what'd you think of it at the time? Like, how did it come about?
Well, we were fans, man. It was like, I remember I used to test drum machines for Lisa's like for 8 hours a day. And we would what we would do, it was drum machines and it was effect processors. So I would run all these CDs that I would listen to through the effects processor just to make sure the reverb's working and the delay. And my friends, it was the weirdest thing. My friends were into like the hip hop and hardcore metal. And it wasn't my Korn friends. It was these guys from Bakersfield, California, and they were into like Public Enemy, KRS-One, and then they were into like Slayer and all that, and it was the weirdest thing. And I don't know, it's like I had friends in LA too, and nobody listened to that extreme of the different type of styles. So, but yeah, Boogie Down Productions, Ice-T, and all that, but Cypress Hill was a huge one too, and so we just straight ripped off Cypress Hill in the beginning. Like we would go on our guitars.
Wow.
And it's all over the first record. That's straight a rip off of Cypress Hill.
Cool.
And
Amazing.
so, yeah, we were really influenced, and NWA definitely, because that was just like punk rock to the fullest. You know, they came out and said whatever they want, and we're like, how can you say that? You know? And so even though it was different type of music, and it was like from the streets and all that, and we were, you know, I was just a normal white kid, grew up in middle class or whatever, it was just like ballsy. It was like, man, this is punk rock as you could get.
And all you guys were into it, or like, did you have to kind of, so like if 4 of you guys were into it and one wasn't, were you guys like, hey man, you should check this out because this is kind of where.
Yeah, definitely. Like you know what's funny? Jonathan was into the whole, he was like, our singer was doing like the mixing and DJing when he was, you know the Baker Boys? Have you heard of them?
No.
They're really hot in back a couple decades ago or a decade ago. What's that station? Hip hop station in L.A. I forget what it's called, but
I know that's where Big Boy's show is on.
yeah, they did.
Yeah.
The Baker Boys did the morning show there for a long time, and so, but Jonathan grew up in Bakersfield, and he was DJing with those guys, so he was the first guy to get into it, and then I got into it with NWA came out and all the Ice-T and all that, and then I was telling Fieldy about it, the bass player, who's the most hip hop guy in Korn, and he's like, God, why do you listen to that stuff? And a couple years later, he was like all over everything, and Ice Cube became his hero, you know. And Ice Cube, I've always loved that guy's voice. We got to do some stuff with him, but it was, you know, what really got me too is when Ghetto Boys came out. I was like,
come on.
So
Yeah.
NWA says this, and now how can you say that? You can't say you're going to chop up your girlfriend? It was just like, how extreme can you take it?
Did you think there was anybody? I mean, well, how did it feel to be at the center of kind of when the words like rap metal started coming around?
Yeah, it was. You know what's cool, and how Korn like stuck around this long is it's like we had undertones in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the groove and like the 808s and all this in Korn. But then we had this singer who was like, he was like goth almost. Like he was this crazy, gothy, 9 Inch Nails type of guy and would sing like almost feminine, you know? And so it was just a weird twisty thing that worked. And it wasn't like we were going, yo there, and it was just the music. And then this guy made it all like alternative sounding, our singer. And so I think that's why we were different from all the other rap rock, because a lot of the other ones were like rapping, and this guy, he wouldn't, man. He was just a freak.
Was there anybody that you go ahead?
Oh, no, I was gonna say he did the sound effects and the beatboxing on certain songs. I remember.
Yeah.
So like that added another element to.
Totally. And you know what's cool? It's like that didn't even sound like beatboxing, because he'd be like, oh yeah, he did on the freaking Elise.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was like one of the best parts like of that song,
Yeah,
because like
that's
you're
my
like wait for
favorite.
it, oh here it is, and then you would like do it. So like yeah.
And so the beatboxing, but he'd be like, you know,
Yeah.
that. And so he got that all with the Baker Boys back in the day, you know.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So he brought it back, and we heard him do it, and we were like, what the? Well, you got to put that in a Korn song. He's like, no, that's hip. That's like, that goes, you know, I got it from that. And we told him to make it more raspy, like, and so he just went for it, man. And that's one of his signature things. We brought that back a little bit on the new record.
That's a good John impression. Are we far enough out from it that we can talk shit about bands that went too far or didn't do it well? That might have been uncomfortable for you to be associated with?
Yeah, let's try it.
We could start with, can we agree that All in the Family is a little, I don't know if that's aged well.
Yeah, that's
the song with Fred Durst on Follow the Leader.
I heard All in the Family yesterday. It's so funny you say that. We're like somebody was. We played a show. You're gonna be fun. You're gonna laugh. It was me, Monkey, and Fieldy. We were coming back from a show, big old show we played, and like Falling Away From Me came on, and then another song came on, and then All in the Family, and we're like, what? Oh man, this is cool. We're gonna play, and the dude's like, no, it's Pandora. And we're like, we thought we were going to play it on the radio a lot. And so, but yeah, it's pretty lame, that song.
I loved it when I was a kid, but
yeah, it hasn't aged well. You're right.
And yet the Family Values tours, like in '98 and '99, you brought a bunch of rap acts. I mean, you brought Method Man, Redman, Ice Cube, DMX, Mobb Deep. That's a pretty big one. Like, how did those tours go?
Man, we were just all for hip hop. Most of us anyway. So and we wanted to mix it up, and it worked, And some of the crowd was just like waiting for the metal show or whatever, but it seemed like it was really a cool time to see the blending of all those music, and just see Ice Cube come out with his full on show. Like, I don't think hip hop was doing that a lot as far as like the big production and everything, and so. Ice Cube was like, I'm doing a rock tour. And he came out and he put his big old head on stage. And he came out of his mouth or something like that. It was like, it was surreal, And so we just wanted to show our respect and honor to hip hop by bringing them out, And now they're bigger than us. So why don't you bring us out on tour, hip hop? Right?
Yeah.
It's like rock is like squished down now.
The coolest part about that was because I grew up where all my friends were hip-hop, but when we heard you guys, it was cool to be listening to hip-hop and like Korn and all those other acts, and it opened my kind of taste to that side of rock too. So I think that was like a cool thing to experience watching you guys tour with Ice Cube, and because it just opened up for people like me who just concentrate on hip-hop. I discovered you guys, and I started buying all your albums, and I went into the catalogs that I missed from you guys.
Crazy.
So
that's crazy, man.
That was the coolest things about those.
Yeah, I like that.
Stories.
Like that we could influence. It just goes back and forth. It's like it was crazy because my friends in Bakersfield, in that small town, it's like they got it before the big city kids. They were like, oh, you got to listen to Boogie Down. You got to listen to, this new Ice-T Public Enemy, and then you got to check out, this Cannibal Corpse new album. And I'm like. So they got it, right? It's like it was the most hardcore of the rap and the hardcore of the metal they liked.
That's what's so dope about having this job is that we get to go to all of these shows. So, like, one of my favorite things, of course, being, in New York, is people watching. So we go to these shows, and you'll go to maybe, like, a Kendrick Lamar show. We were at Beale Street, and we saw Cypress Hills play, like, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, man.
And, like, you see the audience. I feel like the audience is always the same. It's always, like, a majority white crowd that knows every word to every song, no matter who's playing. So it could be, absolutely.
Even Kendrick?
Even Kendrick. There's a clip that we were talking about the other day.
He played Toronto, and it's Toronto, and you could see the whole crowd is predominantly white.
Yeah.
And they are singing word for word the Mad City song off his record.
Trip?
And even like the N words in the songs, and they're just
maybe too many of the words.
Maybe right,
Maybe
but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't. It's like you said, like the kids who are far out in places you would never suspect are probably more on the pulse than the kids who are getting spoon-fed this stuff, living in the city, have multiple radio stations and stuff like that. That was like one of the biggest things that kind of opened my eyes to like just the power of what music was, was being from Philly, being from a major city where I didn't have even any white friends. I didn't even know anyone liked, the stuff that we were listening to, like, religiously.
Right.
And then kind of being able to explore and tour and then go to some of these shows. And I'm like, yo, I'm the only one here. Like, that was the craziest
that's not
thing.
Right. But,
right. No, but
it's
it was cool.
But it's cool. But you know what? You know what I think it is? It's like, what was? It's crazy because all this music came out, but all the mainstream pop, it's like it's all produced and it's like they write it for the artist, and then hip hop comes out and it's just like raw and just emotional and real. Like people want real. This generation wants real, and so that's why they're drawn to it so much. And even like the Korn or whatever, it's like he was so real and honest with his emotions. He just was like, open up my soul and look inside, you know? And so that's what these people want, and that's why they relate to it, I think, a lot.
And that's why I also think it's interesting that a lot of the rappers, you know, that you guys even toured with or did music with, we consider them in hip-hop, we consider them rock stars. Because, you know, in music, it gets no bigger than the rock star, no matter what you are.
And that's why it kind of works with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and NWA, right?
Right.
Because Gene Simmons don't like it, but like, I mean, I got that punk rock feeling from NWA, just saying, man, these guys, they grew up in that, and they're talking about how it really is,
right?
And they don't care what they're saying, they don't care who they're offending, and it was just punk rock, and so I get it, but you know, I think you can't please Gene Simmons, I guess.
So I want to do this thing where we discuss some type of subject that's not a topic that's trending in the news or, you know, something in current events. Basically, like, I wanted to talk about, obviously we all grew up at the same era. So I wanted to know your guys' opinions on what cartoons you guys watched back then growing up that would fly in today's world with all the political correctness that goes on today. Right. Because when we were growing up, it was a different world. Like, you know, the racial stuff wasn't really as prominent as it is now, and the sensitivity of, I'm sorry to quote this, but the pussification of America, where you can't say anything without offending somebody. Right. Where back when we were kids,
or every kid has to win, there can't be any losers. Yeah, even so all that type of stuff.
You know, so I was thinking, man, like the cartoons I used to watch in the '80s, the kids movies I used to watch in the early '90s, late '80s, like I watch and I'm like, I wonder if that stuff in its original form could fly today. Right. And what could. So I wanted to talk to you guys, like, what cartoon do you feel that you watch could fly today in its original form without it being watered down or altered to appease those who find everything offensive?
See, for me, like, it's hard to find a cartoon that from my era in the 80s, early 90s that would fly now. And I also wasn't a big cartoon watcher, so, like, I would think of the Snorks. I'm like, the Snorks would still hold up because they were like underwater alien people. So they weren't black or white or, you know, they weren't human. So you didn't really get, you know, that whole jazz. But a show that like was my favorite show back in the day, that was a kids show that would never fly today for me is Wild and Crazy Kids on Nickelodeon. Whoa. Now you had a black host. So like it wouldn't even be really a racial thing, but but because of the pussification, kids cannot lose on television. Yeah, there can't be a clear loser and a clear winner. All kids have to win. There can't really be competition. Like, you know, these things were tough.
That's
like,
a good point, man. I never even thought of those competition shows.
Yeah, man. Competition, Guts, and, you know, Tomb or whatever.
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legends of the Hidden Temple. Like, you can go online now, and they like every once in a while, someone will have like a Throwback Thursday of like a really horrible contestant, like a kid who like could not find the flag in the slime to save his life, and it was like 5 or 6 minutes, and you know, like. You know what I mean? Like, and we laugh at that because at the time it was hilarious, but like at this point, like that kid would probably get like cyberbullied. No,
not even.
And
I mean, they don't even have kids game shows anymore.
Because you think about it,
for that reason, yeah. And we all have kids, so we live it. Like I see firsthand where they won't even tell. Like if my kid fails a test, they won't tell you failed the test. They'll just say you need to do better. It's like it's okay if you fail a test. Right. You know what I mean? Because it does something to your self-esteem. Like, all right, fail. Let's see if I could get back up and pass the next one. And I think that's like a major issue. Like, that's a really good example. I didn't even thought about those game shows because it's true.
It's a wrap.
You know, you give 9th place a ribbon or a trophy.
Yeah, come on.
You know what I mean? So, like,
dude, the participation trophies are the same size as the championship trophies in some of these leagues that my sons play in. And like my rule in my house, there's no participation trophies coming in my house. Yeah, you win the chip. we put that up.
Yeah.
You participate. The experience and the lessons that you learn is good enough for you. I'm not glorifying mediocrity. In my
same
crib.
here.
Like, get out of here. With
Yeah, because my kid would come home like, well, I was like the whatever. She forgot. She came in saying something, and I'm just like, you need to try to be the best in your class.
Right.
You need to strive to be the best. You're not going to be the best all the time, but
Right.
that's what you need to go for. I feel like nowadays it's taught like, yeah, but if you don't do well, at least you tried. It's like, no, like you need to try to do your best. So,
right. Look, not everybody is going to be, a starting five or, an MVP. We need to separate the scorekeepers and the equipment managers from, from the athletes.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's got to learn how to, sports medicine and sports science because, you know what I mean? Like, you want to be involved in this game, there's more angles to be involved than just playing the sport. Like,
like bringing it back to like the cartoons and stuff, like all the animal stuff is kind of like what you said, like they're animals or they're these different beings. But, there were shows I used to watch like Thundercats and Thundercats, they're all cats,
right?
But please believe they're all playing a part of some type of ethnicity.
Man.
Yeah, like Panthro, hands down, he's a black
dude.
He
was bald, he was swole, he was dark.
It's debatable, but Tigra was the Spanish dude because he had that fresh blowout.
Right.
I'm saying, but like that kind of stuff, and nobody like I didn't look into it like that.
Nah.
I look into it like that now because I'm a grown up. But like in today's world, everything has to be reshaped, to appease all.
It has to be like universal,
and
like
it's
all inclusive, right?
And it's a shame, man.
I think it's okay though.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You think what's okay? It's okay to include everyone and have everyone represent. I kind of feel you on that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I just think it's an interesting discussion to have that stuff back then. Just a contrast of how we grew up.
Right.
And then how our kids are growing up now in these mediums with cartoons and shows and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people, when we, especially here when we talk about movies and stuff, it's like, oh, you haven't seen X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, well, how many black people are in that movie? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, there's no black people. Well, then I've never seen it. Like, and it's kind of a joke and funny, but like really, like I grew up with very, conscious and aware parents, one Hispanic, one black. And we like to see ourselves reflected on what we were watching. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really see, not that I didn't care to or didn't want to see movies or TV shows that didn't have black or Hispanic characters, but like I couldn't identify really with someone who didn't come from what I came from. Now, Mighty Ducks is one of my favorite movies ever, and Goldberg is my homie because he's from Philly. Like, not because he was a black kid. Or it was hockey, which I never played, and, none of it related. But I found something to identify with. Like, I always kind of search out. Yeah. So in that regard, the way kids think and the way things are now, you definitely want to have that character that you identify with.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where, and I agree with, like, it's true. Like, it's great that you get everyone included at 100%. Like,
right.
Of course, definitely. It just, to me, was a glaring contrast to those days and today. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because, like, I thought of it because I used to watch this cartoon called The Centurions. You guys aren't familiar, but it was like a big deal to me.
It was an American Colombian cartoon.
No, it was an American cartoon that I watched in Colombia as a kid.
That we in America do not know about.
Yes.
Right.
But I was thinking, I'm like, man, it was such a good cartoon. Like, a reboot nowadays would be successful because, they had these suits that attachments to them.
Right.
That would, one of them was the air guy, one of them was the water, one of them was the land, and they would attach, wheels or propellers or, a turbine engine, and they would, like, save the world and shit. But there were 3 white guys. And I'm like, you know what? To reboot that today, you can't go with 3 white guys. You have to go with, you got to represent each ethnicity. Yeah. And that's fine. But that's what made me think, like, man, this is crazy. Like, the difference of how we grew up and how that was reflected on stuff that we watched.
Now, do you think, and this just came to my mind right now, do you think, like, the rules now is that you kind of have to make it more diverse because people are more conscious and make noise, or because a lot of these properties become internationally successful? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, back in the day, you're making an American television show. You're only really thinking about your American audience, the time that it comes on, like what city it's set in, like all of that story kind of. But people in London are watching.
I don't
it
think they
and all
give
these
a
other
shit
places.
about international.
You don't think
audiences
internationally
in terms of how they make the thing?
I mean, I've
With,
heard
like,
in
blockbuster
movies,
yes.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I mean, I
But
think with
not
toys too,
television.
yeah.
But
to an
cartoons,
extent.
though, I mean,
Yeah, cartoons. I think they're
you
first.
just dub them over, and
Yeah.
you don't know what country it originated.
And you know what?
in.
Honestly, the rest of the world isn't as uptight as we are when it comes to stuff in this country. Honestly, I
Word.
don't think because, I could judge from where I'm from and where I watch TV. Like the news here, and you go to watch the news in Colombia or in Mexico or anywhere
Right.
else, they don't sugarcoat shit. Here, everything's sugarcoated for the
Right.
most part. So I think everywhere else is different than here.
Interesting.
So I think it's definitely an American thing. But to go to your point, like I think when people are making these franchises, they definitely think of like, if we're gonna do this, we need to make it right, and we need to make it so that we don't offend anyone. Because if we do, in this age with the internet,
Right.
we could be done in a week because we missed one oversight that offended one little pocket of people. But with
Right.
the power of the internet, that could single-handedly bring our whole brand down. So
Right.
it's definitely
Hashtag Oscar so white. So
I'm wondering about The Simpsons because it's obviously been on so long, and I
Right.
showed my daughter it recently, and it's like I showed her, early on. It's like very edgy,
yes.
and I'm wondering now. I haven't watched it in a long time.
Right.
I wonder if they kept that to today, where like Homer's like choking Bart every other episode.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
There's a lot of very on the edge kind of stuff. I wonder.
I don't know. I never really got into The Simpsons.
yeah.
at all.
But it's like that's a great example.
But they kept it going, so I wonder if they changed it
Yeah.
a lot or not.
I mean, it's definitely changed with the times, and it's been The Simpsons have been on for so long. Like, I think everything has to evolve to suit the climate
Right.
of the current brand. But like a perfect example is I watched Batman the animated series, and Joker's on. This is a kids' cartoon that comes on at 3:00 in the afternoon for kids coming home from school.
Yeah.
I watch it back now because my daughter watches it from time to time, and Joker's talking about kidnapping families and killing, KILLING, killing people. Batman's getting shot out guns with bullets. No way that flies now.
right.
You
Yeah.
don't think
Even
so?
in the Batman cartoon, they're getting shot by lasers all the time. No one
Right.
says killing. No one
Yeah.
says kidnap. Those things just don't exist.
Word.
And it's just they're trying to appease the same age, but it's
But
just
it's the softer.
yeah.
It's the softer version. Now, another thing. So let's kind of flip this around and reverse it. So another thing that I've noticed a lot, lately online has been characters that are already established, and in most cases that are Asian, are now being replaced with white characters.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I guess Scarlet Witch was Asian.
No,
No.
the thing in Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange,
the-
she was
what's her
Asian.
name? The wise one or
The ancient one.
the ancient one, yeah.
Yeah, and now she's a white woman, and there was some other characters that were.
Well, yeah,
originally
that shit's been going
Asian
on
and
forever.
switched
The
over.
whitewashing, yeah.
Yeah, even in like
Yeah.
the 70s and 60s, like white actors would play Asian characters.
Yo, we were watching Breakfast at Tiffany's, me and my Asian wife, and we were watching that movie. And when her neighbor,
mistake.
her annoying Asian neighbor was some white guy, and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, she was pissed. She almost made me turn it off. She was so offended by.
But here's the
Watching
thing:
this
would
movie.
have she been offended if she was watching it back then?
I think so.
It's
so?
it was,
I think so.
Well, the thing is, when we were kids, and when anybody's kids, it's more subliminal. You don't. A kid isn't sitting there in the '90s watching TV, and like a brown kid isn't sitting there in the '90s watching TV, maybe, and being like, "Where am I on this
Right,
screen?"
right.
But it's subconscious. You don't think that you can be in a show.
Right,
You
sure,
don't
yeah.
think you belong in that kind
Yeah.
of show. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the messaging kind of stuff.
See, I never
Yeah.
got that.
No.
I never. I mean, maybe because I grew up and I just saw, everyone around me was black, white, Spanish, Asian, and
You
all
grew
my
up very mixed.
Yeah, like I grew up in a fucking Benetton ad. Like
Right.
Out in
you
Queens.
know, like my best friends to this day, my best friends are Colombian. I have one of my best friends is Polish.
Right.
One of my best friends is from Trinidad.
Right.
And like I've never thought of like, man, why isn't there a Spanish guy that's insurance? Because
Right.
it just never occurred to me.
See, where I grew up in Philly is super segregated. And I remember the first time I went to the suburbs, which was like Voorhees, New Jersey, where their houses weren't touching each other, and they had a
that's where
front
Jason's
yard
from,
and
I
a
think.
backyard.
Really?
That was the first time, and I went out to visit my father's black friend. It was his house. I was like, who is he and what is he doing here? Like, on TV, I've never saw a black neighbor in any of these suburban neighborhoods. It was my first suburban
He'd
experience.
probably be the mailman or some shit like that.
Right, or if he was some kind of service industry. He definitely wasn't living on probably the biggest house on the block. Like, it was an amazing experience to me. I'm like, yo, what does your friend do? Who is he? Like, how can he live here? Like, so.
How old were you then?
I was probably 7 or 8. So you're right. Like, I was watching these things, just never thinking that was for me. And I had never seen or really known any white people that weren't my teacher. So,
yeah, I mean, that's you grew up in that.
Subliminals.
So, like, What was your neighborhood like, Zach?
Man, I grew up in the whitest state in America. I mean, it flips between Maine and Vermont.
Hashtag Maine so white.
My neighborhood, aka my whole state, was very white. Yeah,
man.
And it was cold, I'm assuming.
it was
So
cold.
you watched a lot of TV then, because it was so cold, no?
No.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
definitely.
Well,
I have such a good memory for a lot of cultural things, but a lot of the TV I watch, even if I watched a lot of it, it's just like
Gone.
deleted.
There's
from
not
my
like
head.
one
yeah.
cartoon that stands out that you just loved. And
Oh
you
yeah,
had
there's a
toys
lot. I loved a lot of Nicktoons. I liked Batman the Animated Series. I loved Hey Arnold. I loved Doug. I loved
Hey Arnold.
Rugrats.
But Doug clearly the black kid was Skeeter.
Oh yeah.
The weird like off-green kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I think Hey Arnold
everyone
did it.
else was white
Right.
Yo, my
in the
kid-
neighborhood.
Roger Klotz, man, green.
Roger was
Macklemore?
green. Macklemore was green.
Macklemore's Roger Klotz.
Yeah.
Have you never?
No.
Dude, when you get back to your desk, please Google that.
All right.
And
They
you
have
will
the
see
same
that they are
hairstyle.
one
There's
in the
my
same.
afternoon.
It's
Oh
funny
my
you mentioned
God.
Hey Arnold though. Dude, my Gianna, my daughter, last 3 days, can't stop.
It's the best.
And there's a cool thing like Hulu has all this old stuff, and she just browses through Hulu. And I didn't watch Hey Arnold, and she's absolutely.
My sons are
loving
watching
it.
Doug. They love Doug.
Oh, Doug is good, man.
Dude,
But yeah. That was a good conversation. I like. We're gonna start having these more because like this is like fun stuff that I'm
Yeah,
sure
man.
listeners and people we know have thought about at one time or another, and we'd love to know what cartoons you guys might think that would fly or
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't fly.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
know, 90s movies. Like I don't know why the last 2 days I've been on like a 90s kids movies binge. I've been watching
my
Three
God.
Ninjas, and I watched Sidekicks with Jonathan Brandis and Chuck Norris, and like watching that stuff, I'm like, and Three Ninjas like Rocky calls his brothers retarded. And I'm like. Never would have fly
No,
right now.
no.
Just it
Politically
would not.
incorrect, homies.
Him telling his brothers to shut up probably would never happen
Right.
today, just because So yeah, that was a nice little.
Yeah, hit us up.
Convo we had.
Hashtag back of the class. We love to hear your thoughts on this this topic.
Yeah.
Word.
Well, so what's got your thumbs swole this week?
Yeah, man. This week, Homefront Revolution came out.
The Revolution.
May 17th. The Revolution.
I learned that the hard way writing about it for the site.
Oh,
It's
is it?
the Revolution, like Prince
Yeah.
and the Revolution.
Homefront and the Revolution. huh?
Homefront, the
Oh, that's gonna be
Revolution.
that would be an amazing mod. Anyway, yeah, man, we went to PAX East and we went to they had a Homefront and Chive had a cool party and we attended and we got to interview one of the developers / designers of the game. We got to get some hands-on demos and we played for like a good 10 minutes and I enjoyed it, man. I liked what they were showing me and they sent me an early copy. I started playing it early this week. And I like it. I mean, for the most part, there's a lot of stuff to do. For the casual fan, like you guys are, it's a first-person shooter, which is, standard, walk around shooting stuff. But
Right.
this one, it's the setting. It takes place in Philly, which Esteban is, all about. And the U.S. has been taken over by North Korea. They are in the game, they are the superpower, and they are the leader in technology. And the setup is interesting. The setup is interesting because we buy all the technology from them, but we don't have the money to pay. So we've been collecting a debt, but we keep getting their technology. And then when they're like, all right, it's time to pay that debt. And then we're like, we don't have the money. And they're like, cool, because every piece of technology we sold you has a back door for us to access all your shit. And basically that was the beginning of them taking over.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, the concept of, it's not a direct sequel from the last Homefront game. It's like a reboot.
They were saying they made it like open.
Yeah, it's open world. It's not linear, which is great, which is fun. You know, there's plenty. If you're one of those gamers who likes to collect every last bit of intel, you could do that. There's a lot of stealth to it. You could be stealthy and not engage the enemy at all.
What about that crossbow though?
Oh, that crossbow is. I love it.
Yo, that was one thing that I really liked about about what we got to see was like how you can modify your gun.
Yeah, that's the highlight.
Cool.
That's the highlight to me of the game is that you can modify your weapon. I mean, if you picked up the right parts along the way.
Right.
But you could walk around, and if you find yourself in a position where you know you're gonna need a sniper rifle, you could mod your assault rifle into a sniper rifle.
Come on, bro.
You could mod your assault rifle into a light machine, like on the fly. You hold one button, pick which thing you want to fix, and it does it in like less than 3 seconds, and then boom. You're good to go. That's definitely the highlight.
Doing it, right?
Yeah, you see him doing it. It's like a MacGyver, like a gun MacGyver.
Yeah, go to Fuse.tv and look for Homefront. You guys did an interview with the developer, and there's a lot of gameplay video on there.
Sick.
Did you beat Uncharted 4?
Oh, I beat it over the weekend.
Yeah.
And it was glorious.
Cool. So what's the end game like?
No. You mean like the game? Like, is there stuff to do after?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a shitload of treasures to collect.
Uh-huh.
And there's the multiplayer that is fun and infuriating at the same time.
As are most multiplayer.
Yeah, but I finished that, which is great because I got Homefront right after I finished Uncharted.
Uh-huh.
So I'm filling my time with Homefront right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I haven't finished it because I'm tedious and I like to collect shit.
Right.
So I've been doing that.
You're one of those. The worst people to watch play the game.
I mean,
people
every
have
trophy.
to collect everything.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not all I don't know what's the phrase, rainbows and whatever. It's not the perfect game by any stretch. Like there's frame rate hiccups that I'm sure they're gonna address in a patch here and there. It's very typical first person shooter, but it's a good mix. I feel of your typical. It's easy to pick up and play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like no means is it perfect, but it's not bad either. Like I'm having fun with it, and I'm sure, if you're a fan of first person shooters and, shooters in general, I think you'd enjoy it.
Sweet.
Cool.
So that's my review.
Nice. Now back to you. No, I'm just kidding. So what are you guys listening to this weekend?
Who's gonna go?
Anybody?
I'll go.
Hit it.
I've finally been taking some time to just go back to albums that I like. There's been all this new music, and with the Chance, which is amazing, coloring book, Chance the Rapper, it's so good, but it also makes me want to listen to acid rap. So I've been flicking between both. I've listened to Dirty Sprite 2 a lot in the last week.
Why?
Really? Cause man, that album is perfect.
That's good. I'm glad you like it.
It's
perfect.
Yeah, that shit is great. That's still better than a lot of the shit that's come out since.
Nice.
And Rodeo, Travis Scott, I've been going back to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like Days Before, and I like Rodeo, and he has a new album coming out soon.
Astro World, he said. And he said that there's something else coming before it, too. I don't know if it's another mixtape and then album or two. But
I hope.
But yeah. And then for new, I want to listen to the Corinne Bailey Rae album some more. I like
dope.
Her. Yeah.
I need to get. I was gonna listen to Chance last weekend.
But you gotta.
Damn it, Uncharted did not let me.
Right.
You gotta.
There's games where you could play and listen to music at the same time.
That ain't one.
Uncharted is not one. And yeah, that took most of my.
I do that with Destiny. I play and listen to music.
Yeah, I couldn't do it, but I definitely. He did an anime this week that I sent Zach, and it was really interesting because I mean, as you know, in Reddit, on AMAs, you're gonna get really good questions.
Yeah.
You're gonna get really stupid questions.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of really cool questions and about stuff that I never knew about. I never knew him and Childish Gambino were working on an album for the longest. And someone's really like, "Is this happening?" And he said yes.
Good.
Oh man.
They asked him about being independent and like if he does everything he wants to do, and he goes, "No, believe it or not, I'm independent, and there's shit that labels that I'm not even on won't let me do because I want to work with such and such, or the producer wants to do something with me and we just can't." Like stuff like that, he talked about that. I thought was really interesting.
Wow!
If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out because it's definitely worth the scroll down.
The scrollage
because it's pretty long. Those AMAs get pretty long, but it's really interesting and he's very honest, which is the best part. So I'm definitely going to be listening to that. I need more time with this Radiohead album.
I need less time, and I'm at 0.
Really?
Wow.
I haven't.
What do you give us a couple thoughts?
I mean, I just heard Daydream, which I really liked. And that's pretty much my taste of it.
You're a fan
And I
now?
love radio. Yeah,
Okay.
I love Radiohead. So I want to delve more into that. I just haven't had the time. So
when you're not listening to Panda,
Panda.
Which
And I watched the video finally.
which you watched today, finally, like the video.
I like
I
the
still
video.
didn't watch it yet.
Dude, I liked it.
You haven't seen the video yet, Zach?
No.
And we
What
watched
time
the
do you
Genius video of him with all the lyrics.
Yeah, that was a great
and
one.
now it's not now.
Trying to read them
Yeah.
closely, and you still can't.
But he
fucking
does such a
understand
good like.
Still
He
can't.
did
Yeah,
a
it
good
was-
job on that
I
video
liked
of
it.
explaining it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it just made me feel like a jerk thinking he said legacy. He said white X6. And I'm
What
looking
is
at
this?
Esteban. I'm like, where the fuck did I get legacy from?
I still want Esteban to debut those.
Yo.
those Destiny
Come on,
lyrics
level
that he
5,
cooked
I am
up.
Benna.
Yeah. Little sneak.
And
peek.
Kanye's
Oh, man.
cameo is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think
It was a good
it's
video,
subtle.
man.
It's not all up in the video.
All on the song.
So you gonna listen to any music?
I am listening to Reverie Drive. It's this like kind of weird project. A good friend of mine, Dilemma, who's known to be my DJ. He, him and his partner produced a couple records on Jasmine Sullivan's last album that got like crazy rave reviews. They kind of hit this sound that was amazing that we wanted a lot more of. And so they formed like this cool little group called Reverie Drive. And like the music is coming out on Friday. And the first single is called Whisper, and it's ridiculous. Like the
All right.
production value is amazing. The singer is great. Like the song is all about like, you know what you love, so what are you whispering for? Like you should be screaming about like the things that you're passionate about. Like stop wasting time.
Question:
Hit it.
Is there a Careless Whisper, sample in it?
No.
Dilemma would kill a Careless Whisper sample, dude.
He would. D, get on that. But yeah, I'm gonna be listening to that joint all weekend. I've been listening actually to the song all week. Like
All right.
the
I'm
song
gonna
has
listen
been
right
on
after
repeat.
this.
Yeah.
Reverie Drive.
Before we go, best Whoopi Goldberg movie.
Oh my god.
Or favorite, not best, because that's subjective. Favorite Whoopi movie.
Whoopi
Go.
Goldberg movie, dude. How can you like even Ghost?
Ghost.
My favorite.
Zach.
I'll be mainstream and say Sister Act.
All right, that's not bad.
No, that's a good
That's
one.
not mainstream.
Was she in that TV Cinderella with Brandy? I think she was.
Was
I've
she?
Never. If it ain't Moesha, I don't know nothing about Brandy.
All right.
Of course not. Mine is Jumpin' Jack Flash.
No one. That's not
Little
even a
movie
real
you just
movie.
wrote, directed,
Right.
and produced
No,
just
no.
now.
What are you talking about?
Bro, Jumpin' Jack Flash is young Whoopi. Back in the day, there is nothing but Rolling Stones music throughout the whole movie because that's Jumpin' Jack Flash, obviously. If you know this movie, tweet at me and tell me you love this movie too because I love it. And it's like
only
Whoopi
Juan
being
and
Whoopi,
Whoopi Goldberg
but
have
it's like
seen
a
this movie.
suspense comedy. You know, a lot of computer hacking. If you don't know it, check it out.
What
Alright.
year is this?
Oh man, it has to be either early to mid '80s.
All right.
So the computers are like the green.
Yeah, it's the
screen,
green screen and
green
like
numbers.
the
Sauce.
keyboard is the size of like a whole typewriter.
Yeah.
But it's not, man. And you know
let's-
who's in it? My man, the King of Sparrows from the head sparrow from Game of Thrones.
Oh, word.
yeah, he's in. He does the voice for like the computer she talks to of the guy that's trying to like get her to help him like through the computer. Yo, it's a good movie, man. Just trust me.
You got me thinking about Game of Thrones now. Fuck.
And then
Yes.
Eddie's a good runner up.
Let's tell people where to get us. I'm at Twitter, Zach Dion.
I'm on Twitter, Juan Conqueso with a Z.
With a Z.
With a Z. And I am at Esteban Serrano on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Word.
Word. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you,
We
Head,
had a
for
lot of
coming
fun.
by, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
Ahead for coming by. I definitely am going to read his book on my flight to Vegas on Sunday for the
Word.
Billboard Awards. I want to read his book.
Hey,
And if you got discussions or topics that you want to hear us discuss, as we did today with the cartoon stuff,
Tweet us.
hit us up. Like, we're definitely open to discussing anything and everything.
Word. Panda.